know me, my name is Emily, and I'm a dear friend of the bride. And now the groom, but I knew the bride first. Elyssa and I have been co-workers for the past 5 years and co-teachers in the same classroom for the past 2. That doesn't sound like a super long time, I know, but Elyssa and I spend most of our waking moments together, and trust me when I say we know each other very well. So well, in fact, that I'm sort of surprised she wanted me to speak tonight. As A, clearly I know too much, and B, I have no filter. But for the record, I did ask Elyssa if I could curse and be generally inappropriate in this speech, and her response was an immediate, "Oh, please do." However, this calm, cool response was then followed by months of her asking, "You're not putting that in the speech, are you?" To which I replied, "I thought there were no rules." To which she replied, "Just don't say anything that will make Greg not want to marry me." To which I replied, "Greg could find out you used to be a man and he'd still want to marry you." To which Greg replied, "False." So be warned, I put whatever I wanted in this speech because, Elyssa, you asked me to, and you know full well what I am capable of. And as a wise, also completely inappropriate woman once told me, don't have sex and cry about it.
Right there, yes! Yeah, that's you.
To be clear, Elyssa is the woman who says that. It's her adorably crass way of telling people not to make a conscious choice, i.e. have sex, and then whine about the consequences of that choice, i.e. chlamydia. So, in this case, her choice to ask me to speak has resulted in the raging case of chlamydia that is this speech. For the record, I've been waiting years for the day I could turn that phrase around on her in the most crass way possible, and I'm not gonna lie, it feels great. So here's how this is gonna go. First, I'm gonna talk about Elyssa, and then I'll talk a little about Greg, and then I'll tie it up with my thoughts on Elyssa and Greg together. Why am I outlining the structure and main idea of this speech? Because Elyssa and I are 4th grade teachers. That's what we do, over and over, day in and day out, year after year. It's terrible. Which brings me to phase 1, my girl Elyssa. Now, Elyssa is very nervous that I'm going to get up here and just tell a bunch of stories about her inability to spell words. But I'm not. I'm just going to tell one story. This year, one of our students wrote a poem about how a heart breaks. He misspelled break because he is bilingual and because he is 9 years old. Elyssa, editing his work, patiently explained to him that break in heartbreak is actually spelled B-R-A-K-E. Nope. So I sat there unsure if I should correct her in front of the student or just pull my usual teacher move, you know, putting my head in my hands and hoping the kid figures it out for himself one day. But I ended up correcting her because it was funny for me. But let's be clear, I am a terrible speller as well, which makes Elyssa and I, in a sense, the worst teaching partnership of all time. But here's the thing. Opposite is opposite. Elyssa and I are actually the best, but I will admit it's mainly because she is the best. When you spend 7 hours a day with someone every single work day, you better like them. And if you're lucky, really, really lucky, you'll find that you genuinely love them. By some stroke of fortune that I don't deserve, I ended up work-wifing with someone who is not only the most fabulous teaching partner, but an undeniably amazing friend. While we've only known each other for 5 years, Elyssa and I have seen each other through a lot. Bad dates, nervous breakdowns, mainly mine. Bad dates, friend problems, bad dates, family drama, bad dates, classroom Ebola/lice. And not sure if I mentioned this, but really fucking bad dates. We've had plenty of good times as well. I'm not going to do that annoying girl thing where I list all our inside jokes and the rest of you sit there politely. So I'll just say this. The forecast says, you are the sunshine of my life, the wind beneath my wings, the bluebird on my shoulder, and my very favorite person to text while I'm DBMing, drinking by myself. All the time. Is our friendship one of the best things that ever happened to me? As our favorite student, Katara, would say. Sure is. Now, on to Greg. To be fair, I met Greg through Elyssa, so clearly I don't have any stories of Greg pre-Elyssa, although from what I hear, that guy needed some work. So I'll just stick to the story of my first impressions of Greg. In order to do so, I first have to provide some background context. Shortly before Elyssa and Greg met, I was at a New Year's Eve 2013 dinner with Elyssa, Jesse, my boyfriend at the time, who would be long gone by the end of that year, and the guy Elyssa had just started dating, who would be long gone by the end of dessert. She had met this particular weirdo a few weeks prior and was gushing to me about him. So clearly, he was, but oh my God. So clearly, I was super excited to meet him. And guess what? This guy was the worst. The worst. I knew it, Jesse knew it, the waiter, bartender, and busboy knew it. And 5 minutes into the dinner, as she watched this weirdo awkwardly struggle to interact, Elyssa knew it too. So, as I mentioned before, this guy was tossed to the curb by the time the ball dropped that night. As anyone who knows Elyssa knows, this girl has no time for pussies. No. Now, fast forward a few weeks, it's the end of January, and she meets this new guy, Greg, on J-Date. Shortly thereafter, she is smitten and gushing. As you can imagine, having just experienced a double date more awkward than when our 4th grade boys try to hug us, I was calling bullshit on the legitimacy of this new guy. Elyssa had lost all credibility, and I was certain she was dating Screech Powers. But shortly into their courtship, Greg and Elyssa invited me to a Friends trivia event. Friends as in the TV show Friends. Just the 3 of us.
Sorry.
Greg is really into Friends, Elyssa explained. Like, he knows every single quote and really obscure trivia, and he's doing tons of research for this event. Racing through my mind at this juncture was this. If Greg is this obsessed with Friends, he is either the most awesome guy ever, or kind of gay. But of course, it only took 5 minutes into the trivia date for me to determine that Greg clearly was legitimately the most awesome guy ever. And also a little gay. But more in a Martha Stewart loving, I watch YouTube videos about how to tie ribbons kind of way, and not in an not attracted to women kind of way, which in this particular scenario is good. So the moral of this long-winded story is this. I like Greg. A lot. Okay, I'm done with Greg now. On to Greg and Elyssa together. Now, before I get all mushy, I will point out one small bit of confusion I have about this union. I'm probably going to butcher the general context of this story because I, much like Greg, only half listen when Elyssa speaks. But at some point during their engagement, when they were speaking with the rabbi at the Ufruf, or before the Ufruf, or at some point that had nothing to do with the Ufruf, I don't know, like I told you I don't listen. Greg was asked to provide one word, the most defining word to describe Elyssa. The word he chose was nurturing. Now, not only is nurturing not the first word I'd use to describe Elyssa, but actually, if you gave me a dictionary and said, here are all the words in the world, in all the languages that ever existed at any point in time, nurturing would still be the very last word I would choose. Elyssa is that friend who you go to when you absolutely know this dress makes you look fat, and you need someone to confirm it. In other words, she keeps it 100% real, which is my favorite thing about her and an incredible quality to possess. Just not sure I'd label it as nurturing. So, either Greg doesn't know Elyssa at all, or the more likely explanation, Elyssa has finally found the person she actually can and wants to nurture. This, believe me, is no small feat. The last way I know these two are truly meant for each other, because the first time I spent a really good chunk of time with them together was during a 2-hour training run for a half marathon they were running in my honor. I was stunned by the unwavering support they were showing for me, and impressed with Greg's dedication to getting good with Alyssa's friends. Smart man. But most notably, somewhere between miles 5 and 6, Elyssa almost shit herself. Nope, not a euphemism. We found that bathroom just in time. And somewhere around mile 10, Greg yelled at a group of old ladies for power walking in the wrong lane and blocking his path. Yet somehow, despite these events, these two liked each other even more the next day. And I know that was a weird way to illustrate it, but the point here is that Elyssa and Greg have never been anything but absolutely 100% themselves with one another. And in turn, nothing but 100% accepting and enamored of who each other truly is. Strengths, flaws, and all. Which, by the way, is kind of ironic because when I first started dating my current boyfriend and told Elyssa my strategy was to just put it all out there right away and be myself, her steadfast advice was, yeah, maybe don't. Like I said, not a nurturer. But in all seriousness, Elyssa, I've never seen you happier, and I couldn't be more thrilled for you and Greg. So I leave you lovebirds with 2 important final thoughts, both of equal importance. The first is this. Greg, Elyssa made me promise not to tell you this, but I've been stealing your HBO Go for the past year and a half. So thank you, G. Clickman 03. Secondly, my heartfelt congratulations to the both of you on finding one another and locking it up. I've seen you two catch each other when you fall, support each other through good and bad, and just generally compliment one another in a way that is so natural and effortless. It can only be true love. A love that will never break. Break. B-R-A-K-E. I love you both and wish you all the happiness in